Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Once again, it's Mark Spencer along with meteorologist Mike Joyce joining us as well this
Hello,
evening.
everyone.
Thanks, Mike. We're going to try not to talk over one another. You won't see Mike, but you will hear Mike. You'll see me for now. We are monitoring the chat as well, so you may post in there. We do kindly ask two things. One, be nice. Two, please don't ask what time it's arriving in your backyard if you're way far down the line. We're gonna have to kind of watch things as it goes here. We are watching this really robust cell moving out of Indiana. Now, when you joined me just a little bit ago, this had a tornado warning on it all the way back down here in the Indianapolis metro area, kind of to the north side of Indy, up towards Anderson. We do believe it may have produced a tornado right around Anderson. Right now, no tornado warning on this cell. The one actually just dropped off here as we went live. But this still has some rotation with it. It has some very, very strong winds, however. As you can see, this is a pretty, well, let's just say gnarly looking, huh? We do have a very large severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for portions of west central Ohio. And let me just get that pulled up once again. That severe thunderstorm warning goes until 11:15 p.m. for Shelby County, northwestern Preble County, Darke County, Auglaize County, Mercer County, and northern Miami County. This storm's moving to the northeast at 70 miles per hour. You could see potentially up to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, potentially quarter-size hail. A lot of these severe thunderstorm warnings are coming with the tornado possible tag. If you're familiar with that, down at the bottom of each warning, it'll tell you kind of what to expect. They've been doing that a lot this evening. So it is something we're monitoring only because they're trying to give awareness as these storms could quickly produce a tornado. Just north of there, we do have a smaller warning for southwestern Van Wert County in central Ohio. We're kind of right in between two weather service offices right here. We're at the border, so we're kind of between Indianapolis and northern Indiana and National Weather Service Wilmington, Ohio. Basically the same types of threats there as well. It's just more of a matter of, you know, which office has to issue what. So right now we don't have any tornado warning storms close to the state. The nearest tornado warning is actually going to be out along, you know, kind of south central Indiana right now. And we are watching that line of storms that's moving through Indianapolis as well. You know, as to what it is going to do as it continues to move eastward. So real quick, I just want to flip over to our big regional view, if you will. And you can see, as we looked earlier, a big line of storms going back into Indiana and even down into the lower Ohio and mid-Mississippi valleys. There are tornado warnings down there as well. Again, here's our closest tornado warning. It's down here. Nothing right now close to us. That could change. We have this warm, kind of humid, if you will, environment. We're in the mid 70s or so across much of western Ohio. Again, we have warm and humid air kind of being evected along and ahead of that line of storms. So that's going to be fuel for these storms as it continues to push into Ohio. Additionally, we have a lot of wind shear aloft. We have a lot of turning of the winds aloft as we go from the surface up, and that can create storms that rotate, as we've seen across Indiana just not too long ago. So the conditions are there for the potential for tornadoes to develop, and thus we have a tornado watch. That's our big red box, if you will, that goes until 4 a.m. Thursday morning. That's pretty much along and west of I-71 for the most part. A couple exceptions, if you will, but generally along and west. It does include the Cleveland metro area as well. So just keep that in mind. I know we're kind of right up there, just under the banner with that. My apologies. I will get better at my mouse skills one day. Again, we are monitoring the chat. And if you do have a question that's not, hey, when's it going to be in my backyard? We'd love to answer it as well. Let's go back here to our other local radar here. This is actually still the radar out of Indianapolis. We're kind of in this no man's land with radar. this has the better view. And this particular storm actually is looking like it's starting to transition more of a linear event. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I do think that that is still going to be the primary threat as these storms move into our coverage area here in Ohio. That said, because of how volatile the atmosphere is and just how much spin, I guess is the right way to say it, is in the atmosphere right now, any of these storms could still spin something up, especially right now. It seems like the better chance of that happening would be on a storm on the south side, or at least in the southern portion of our viewing area. And the reason I say that is because they did just issue a new tornado warning for Indianapolis right behind you there. So there's still a lot of those storms spinning as they move east. But that said, the like you just pointed out, the severe thunderstorm warning that is in Ohio. So that's for Mercer, Dark, Shelby, Miami, and Auglaize County. That's going to run until 11:15. This is an elevated severe thunderstorm warning. The National Weather Service is using the term considerable damage threat. That's more than your typical warning. That means the wind gust potential up to 70 miles per hour is possible. And that's going to be impacting places like Greenville, Sidney, Piqua, Wapakoneta, Salina. Those are your county seats. But don't forget about Versailles, St. Henry, Minster, Anna, Botkins, St. Mary's, and other locations in between. So these are northern Miami Valley cities. Um, that said, the reason the severe thunderstorm warning is also tagged tornado possible, meaning that we could get a quick little spin up out of this. There's so much wind dynamics involved that we could get a little bit of twisting motion. And some of the radar evidence, and this part of Ohio doesn't have the best radar coverage, but there is some radar evidence that is possible, or at least occurring in the mid levels of the atmosphere. So I would treat this, if you are again in Mercer, Dark, Auglaize, Shelby, and or northern Miami County, as a serious tornado-like situation, because the damage threat is quite high with this storm. Now, if you're elsewhere, you are okay for now, but a tornado watch does stretch all the way from Cincinnati to Cleveland, anywhere pretty much along and west of I-71. That includes Toledo, all the way up into even the far northwestern corner of Ohio. But you don't need to take action yet. We did get a couple questions about Greenville. Yes, if you're in Greenville, I would be in your safe spot. Possibly destructive straight line wind is coming your way. Also heavy rain, maybe some small hail. So yeah, Greenville, Versailles, Ansonia, Rossburg, Arcanum, and then stretching up toward Mercer County. So if you're in St. Henry, Coldwater, Salina, Grand Lake, St. Mary's, even up as far north as Rockford, all of you should be in a safe spot, away from windows. And even I would treat this. I would treat this as a tornado situation, just because of the straight line wind threat and the possibility of something spinning up, as it has back near Muncie, Indiana. This storm did have a tornado on the ground, and like Mark said, this storm is exhibiting some signs of transitioning into a straight line only threat. But tonight, things are just so powerful that even a straight line wind threat will still be potentially very dangerous. And I think we're even getting word that, let me take a look at it there. Okay, it's still radar indicated. I am watching that tornado warned storm in the southeastern suburbs of Indianapolis, just because one, the general storm trend is toward us, and two, that is a very populated area, so it's something to look out for. But right now in Ohio, Dark, Mercer, Auglaize, Shelby, and northern Miami County, that'll run until 11:15. And Mark, that is not going to be the only one tonight. We've got a long night ahead of us.
Yeah, hey, I also want to point out real quick, around Eaton, Indiana, that's just north of Muncie. You're going to see this little tag here. I know our viewers can't see it that great. It says 95 on it, but if you hover over it, that's a measured 100 mile per hour wind gust.
Wow.
in Eaton, Indiana. That's quite strong. I'm working on trying to get a stream set up. Our own meteorologist, Zach Batten, is actually in, I believe, Richmond, Indiana right now, and he is streaming his what he has seen as well. So I'm actually trying to get that set up to see if we can't get something put in there. But you'll have to bear with me a few minutes here to get that going. We don't usually quite do that on the fly there, but you know, whatever works.
Yeah. If you want me to, while you work on that, I can kind of talk more about what's going on if that's helpful for you.
Yeah, sure. That would be great, actually.
Okay. So just to recap what's going on, and this is on the right side of your screen right now. We have what we call a considerable severe thunderstorm warning for Dark, Mercer, Auglaize, Shelby, and Miami counties until 11:15. What that means is this storm has had a history of producing 70-mile-per-hour wind. But we did just hear from Mark that Eaton, Indiana, which is basically just north of Muncie, reported a 100-mile-per-hour gust. So that is a significant, dangerous situation. I mean, I would treat an 100-mile-per-hour gust like a tornado. I mean, we have tornadoes weaker than that. So even though the wind is all coming from one direction, it's straight line wind, the damage is still very similar that can happen. So that is something we are going to be really, really watching, just because this storm has such a storied history of not only a tornado, but that 100-mile-per-hour wind gust. We did get a question about the storms to this storm's south. So we're talking about storms that are still in Indiana, central Indiana. One storm does have a tornado warning on it. This is in the southeastern suburbs of Indianapolis. So again, that storm is not near our coverage area just yet. But again, you know, many of us might know people who live in Indy. It's a very large city, so a very large population center. So we certainly don't want to see tornado warnings there. And then as we head into southern Indiana, this is going to be northwest of Louisville, Kentucky. We have several tornado warnings ongoing. So the southern portion of the line is still very active with several tornado warnings ongoing. So that's why, even though right now we don't have any tornado warnings in our Ohio News and Weather coverage area, it's why we're really, really watching this, because from what I am seeing, we have a lot of spin in the atmosphere. I mean, we're talking about levels of rotating wind throughout the lower and mid levels of the atmosphere that we see once or twice a year. Not common at all. So that is why we are kind of on heightened alert tonight. We're not here to scare anyone. We certainly don't want that to be our intention, but we also want to emphasize the severity of the situation. I am also, on my end, going to check to see what kind of rotation we might be looking at. But as I'm doing that, Mark, it looks like you successfully got the video going.
Yeah, I transitioned it on accident, didn't I?
Yeah, it looks good.
That explains why what I just tried to do didn't work.
Oh.
No, that's okay. I was just trying to put in here Zach's name at the bottom was all I was trying to do. There we go. That way I gave him a little bit of credit there. Here we are. There he is. So Zach's down in Richmond, Indiana. I'm not exactly sure where he's at, but not too much to see there. But yeah, we do have that in there. So just we'll keep an eye on that. He'll move around as well. If you're not aware, Richmond, Indiana is pretty much right along I-70, just on the other side of the Ohio-Indiana border there. But we will we'll keep an eye on it there. And yeah, let's pop back over here to our radar. Here we go. And I'm going to put that one in the queue. All right, let's zoom on out. Looks like there was some also additional damage reports coming in across eastern Indiana as well from this line, now crossing the state line here right now. heading towards, looks like we'll zoom in, get a couple more towns, Salina, Coldwater, St. Henry, and even Greenville as well. Some damage up in here from this cell, which has still got a decent, probably a mid-level spin to it at this point, still coming off the Indiana radar. We're going to get into some better coverage where we hopefully get into Wilmington's coverage here real soon. I think as it gets just a touch closer, we'll be able to. Again, we're going to still monitor that tornado warning down there in the southeastern side of Indianapolis, but we got a little while before it gets to here. But these storms are moving quick. About 70 miles an hour right now is our storm motion. So pretty much as soon as it's here, it's almost gone just about. But as it moves through, it's really, really going to pack a punch for sure. So again, we got this severe thunderstorm warning going until 11:15 p.m. So we got about another 40 minutes on it or so. We'll likely see some additional warnings ahead of it as well. The Weather Service has been doing a fairly good job of keeping up with warning some of these cells ahead of it, especially this one here. This has had a pretty long track history of damaging winds and even a couple tornadoes, like Mike has said. I know someone asked earlier if they knew how many tornadoes had this whole system has produced. I really don't have a number for you, unfortunately. Typically, even though we see tornado warnings where we know there's a confirmed tornado on it, either via radar or observation, we don't really have a full number of how many tornadoes actually occurred, usually for another couple days after the fact. But I know down across like Arkansas and portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley, earlier they had a handful of confirmed tornadoes, some very, very large as well. That is about all I have on that right now. Yeah, we're going to continue to keep watching this particular cell. Let's see what we got going on here on the velocity just real quick. Oh yeah, see, we're getting too high into the atmosphere now. I'll tell you what, let's click over here real quick and see if we can get something a little bit better off our Wilmington site. It is taking a few seconds for Wilmington's data to populate this evening. I don't know if it's because it's busy or if there's some other downstream issue. There we are. As we get a little closer, we may get, actually, I'll try the Dayton Terminal Doppler too, Mike. We'll see what we get on that.
Yeah.
That is actually not too bad.
Farther to the north.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about the Miami Valley area is we do have the radar in Miami County, the Dayton Airport radar, or as we in the weather community call it, the Terminal Doppler radar. And that has been so helpful in detecting the Miami Valley region throughout the years, really, because it's so close to a lot of populated areas. And that Dayton radar is really showing not much rotation, but we're seeing some very strong straight line wind that's moving through Darke County right now. So if you're in Greenville, you need to be indoors, away from windows. Pretty much anywhere along State Route 118, so that's going to stretch all the way up from southern Mercer County, so spots like Coldwater, St. Henry, and then moving into Darke County, Rossburg, Ansonia, Greenville, Arcanum, and even northern Preble County, places like El Dorado, and even Lewisburg. You're probably going to be wanting to heed that warning as well, and that's coming from the Dayton radar. And we are starting to move into that Wilmington radar territory where the storm is mostly producing straight line wind. But again, in any of these situations, we still do have to watch out for some rotation. I'm seeing it further west on I-70 in between Richmond, Indiana and Indy. There's an area of broad rotation there that we have to watch. And what I mean by broad rotation is that it's spinning, but maybe not producing a tornado just yet. So it's kind of one of those preliminary observing stages we do when we forecast, or I should say nowcast, or observe tornadoes now. So yeah, a lot going on this evening, and that Dayton radar that you see on your screen is really telling where the storm is. So Greenville, safe spot. Ansonia, safe spot. And really, if you're in Piqua, Russia, Sydney, Minster, Anna, just a county over, you don't have a whole lot of time because these are moving very quickly.
time.
Very true. So I'm also looking at the radar too, Mike, and I notice this kind of little notch here just north of Rossburg, and sometimes we pay extra close attention to those just because sometimes that's some inflow and we could get little spin ups there. And if we're going to see it along this line, this is damaging wind at this point, but this is where we would see a bit of a spin up or something like that. It's kind of the same thing we dealt with just a few nights ago, Sunday night, where we had spin ups right along the leading edge of a line of thunderstorms moving across Ohio. So we'll keep an eye on that, but yeah, there's some pretty strong winds in here. I didn't get a chance to look too much at velocity from the terminal Doppler. Let's give a quick peek at that. And nothing.
It's interesting you mentioned that because the Weather Service in Wilmington has also mentioned that, and they are keeping an eye on it.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it looks like further west we do have a new tornado warning too, still in Indiana, but for like the Newcastle, Indiana area, that goes until 11:15. And right now, no confirmed tornado on that. It's just radar indicated. So that is not too far from Ohio, but far enough at the moment. Not exactly near Zach, who's down in Richmond, but that'll go to the north of him. You might be able to see that in the stream there, kind of the red box towards the lower left-hand side of your screen. So yeah, that's we'll just continue to keep an eye on everything here and keep.
Yeah, that storm is definitely rotating. In fact, that's what I was just mentioning is that storm. I was like, well, it's got some broad rotation, and there we go. The Weather Service did decide to warn it out of abundance of caution there. And like Mark said, yes, it's radar indicated, but a tornado warning is a tornado warning. They issue those for a reason. So there is radar indicated rotation. This part of Indiana has had a recent history of rotating storms. Particularly the one that's moving through Ohio now produced some damage near and north of Muncie. So, and downstream of this, meaning further south, there are still a lot of tornado warnings. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into a lot of tornado warnings for our coverage area. But what it does mean is that we still have a lot of volatile weather for the next several hours. And I also will mention real quick that a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. This is going to be for the Lima area. So this is going to be Allen County. And let's see, let's get all of these locations accurate for you. It's going to be for both Allen County, Ohio and Allen County, Indiana. Putnam County, Ohio, Van Wert County, Ohio, and Paulding County, Ohio. And that's going to run until midnight, so over an hour and 15 minutes. And this is also a significant, considerable severe thunderstorm warning with 70-mile-per-hour wind possible. So this is just north of the warning we've been talking about. So this is the city of Van Wert. This is Ottawa. This is Elida, Lima, Beaver Dam, I-75, US Route 30, Delphus. Many locations there are potentially going to be experiencing some very nasty wind. And it doesn't look all that impressive on radar, but that's because the coverage in this area isn't great. So
we're also shooting off the Wilmington radar too, so we're pretty high. This would be more northern Indiana, which sits back here, and that'd probably be a slightly better view. But we're also shooting from behind the storm, so yeah, not as Mike said, we're kind of in a radar dead zone here a little bit. Everything that's kind of happening is happening below the radar beam. Just to point out, here's that tornado warning. We are watching back in Indiana, gradually moving north and west along behind this main line of storms that's just about to move into Greenville right now. And it looks like our little notch there may have calmed down just a touch, but we'll have to watch that. A lot of shear here, but as you saw, these storms back here, as they moved across northern Indiana from Warsaw to Fort Wayne, they kind of lost their punch. They weren't severe. They didn't look all that bad. I know they don't look all that bad now, but now we got a severe thunderstorm warning on it with potential for 70-mile-an-hour winds. So as this continues to push into Ohio, we're going to see these storms gradually pick up some strength as they get into a better environment, a little more energy, and definitely more shear as well. So that's kind of the concern as everything moves through, is just exactly how these storms interact within this particular environment. This particular line segment right here is very, very powerful. We did have 100-mile-an-hour winds, as Mike mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, across a portion of eastern Indiana. That's really strong. That was measured too. That wasn't estimated. That's a very strong straight line wind. You're not really going to be able to stand up in that one. So yeah, this is really the strongest of the cells right now, moving into the Greenville area. And we'll even zoom in here just real quick and see if we can get some other cities and towns to populate. Yeah, Rossburg, Ansonia. It's right on the outskirts of Osgood, and for sales in probably just a couple minutes. Greenville's probably in it right now. The next radar update's due in a few seconds, and that will probably show that storm just about over the town, moving at 70 miles an hour. These things truck along on the radar screen pretty fast. So you know, it's sometimes actually a little bit difficult to even keep up with the touch.
Actually, Mark, if I could point something out really quick. I'm seeing on both the Dayton and Wilmington radars, again, the radar coverage in the area is a little tough, but this is going to be just to the east of Coldwater and near St. Mary's and New Bremen, heading into Auglaize County near Wapakoneta. It does appear that there could be some rotation. I mean, again, it's mid-level, but it's showing up on both radars, including the Dayton radar. So I'm kind of saying if you're in St. Mary's, New Bremen, we might be wanting to watch out in that area for a possible spin-up.
Yeah, kind of between Coldwater and Chickasha there, moving towards the St. Mary's, New Kingsville area. Again, mid-level radar beam height here is about 7,000 feet right now. So it's this whole, again, all of these cells have the potential to rotate. So that's only one aspect of it. Whether or not it actually translates to the surface and creates a tornado is a different thing. So yeah, that's definitely something to watch, and you could get a pretty quick spin up or even a brief tornado in a hurry, especially if these storms moving so fast. So but yeah, that's a good point to point out there. That's definitely that stronger portion of that storm right there too. So yeah, that's kind of where we had that little bit of inflow as well.
Right. Oh yeah, it's still showing up. So we'll have to, yeah, we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that for a bit. We did, and just kind of looking at some updates from the Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center just sent out a new update. They do expect this to continue its intensity. So if you're further east in the tornado watch, you really should still be mindful as we go through the next few hours. And boy, Mark, it does look, yeah, we do have a little bit of broad rotation there, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do. Yeah, I think if it wraps in here just a touch, we could start seeing something develop here. Looks like we're gonna get an update hopefully here in the next 10-15 seconds, and we'll see something here. Again, this is off of Wilmington, so radar beam height's a little high here, but we're about 6,500 to 7,000 feet, just depending on exactly where you're at. But yeah, how far away are we from? Let's go see if we got a second here and click over to the Dayton TWR.
Yeah, and there's some lightning in the region too, which also, you know, it's in the right spot for it all to be kind of coming together to be something to watch.
Yeah, stick with the Wilmington radar here. I think that's got a pretty good view, at least the loft. There's not too much going on lower level according to the terminal Doppler, but we may start seeing this translate down. Of course, again, the Wilmington radar feed's been a little slow lately. There we go, there's our update. Well, that one kind of gusted out, didn't it, Mike?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's okay. Still the threat for some strong wind. But yeah, the tornado threat seems to be a little weaker than it was a few minutes ago. So I mean, but that's what you're gonna get when you have these storms. Do you have some new information, or?
This should update. Well, yeah, it looks like it's pretty recent here. Yes.
Okay. All right. So then, hopefully, we are hopefully we're not going to see that tighten up again and turn into a possible spin up. So
Yeah, if we did, it would be real quick. But yeah, unless something can get in there and kind of wrap it in a little bit. Right now, it's just more or less directional shear.
yeah,
6 miles from
So for our viewers, the directional shear, we have wind going this way, and we have wind coming this way, but it's not wrapping in anywhere where we get that kind of hook feature or anything like that. It's just kind of wind going like this. Unless in some fashion somehow the storm, either through intensification or some other means, can get some rotation in a lower level going. This is just straight line wind damage at the end of the day, or at least the potential for straight line wind damage. But there's nothing tornadic there. But that's things we have to watch, and even the radar's kind of tagging it as well. That's those little circles you see on here, what they call the mesocyclones. And it's just kind of a tool that kind of points out, hey, there's something circling here in some fashion. There's some sort of shear or something like that. So they populate. They're just there as a tool. They don't particularly lead to anything per se, but they're not always right either.
yeah. I was just. I'm wondering if any viewers are noticing some static on the stream, or one of our voices is.
I think it might be yours, Mike.
60 degrees.
What's that? Sorry.
I think it might be yours. I'm hearing it too on my end.
15
Okay,
degrees.
maybe. I will work on trying to fix that. While I do that, but before I do that, I should say, I'm also looking at an area just north of Versailles in Darke County, where we might be seeing a similar situation going on. So, yeah, maybe just a little spike, maybe a possible little spin up there.
Oh yes.
And now it's gone. But,
It's
that's
gone.
the nature of these types of storms.
Yeah. Let alone a model trying to keep up with it hours in advance. Plus, we get a lot of evolution in what this does as well. So there's our whole package moving through. Here's this segment of storms we've been watching. It has broken down just Bloomington, down that way towards Bloomington, Indiana right now. I'm not totally up to speed on my Indiana cities, unfortunately, but it is all great.
So if that were to move into our area, that'd probably be a threat more toward maybe Mercer County within the next 30 minutes or so, if that does hold together. And we just kind of have to watch it, because this storm has quite a history of producing rotation, but will it hold together as it moves into the more of a straight line wind environment that we're starting to see in Ohio?
Right,
So-
and it's also behind this initial line of storm. So how does it interact with all of that as well? Does it continue to strengthen? Does it weaken? Do we get another interaction where we do get a rotation that does reorganize? All of those things are all questions and things that we have to watch as we continue our coverage here as well. Yep, sorry it's a little laggy, folks. It's kind of hit and miss. There's, like I said, I got a lot running here, so do bear with me. It's kind of gonna come and go just a little bit. I'm sure when I looped that radar, it probably got real laggy then, and that takes a lot of data.
Yeah. And what's interesting about the scenario that's still kind of unfolding to our south as well is there are numerous tornado warnings in southern Indiana and Kentucky, many of which have confirmed tornadoes in them. So that really is where the environment is the most ripe for this type of environment, or of tornadoes. But really, the main threat still continues to be straight line wind. But when you get straight line wind upwards of 70, 80, even 90 miles per hour, that is something I would say you should treat like a tornado, because it can do very similar damage to some of those lower end but still dangerous tornadoes. So, and again, just spots for those of you who might have just joined us, spots that are experiencing this right now. If you're in Mercer and Darke County, you're generally from this first line with this first round. I'm not seeing a whole lot at the moment, but we still really have to watch that stuff back further west in Indiana to see if it comes your way as well for maybe like a brief second round. Also, that tornado warning has been allowed to expire in Indiana near Newcastle. I'm looking up a little more information on that just to kind of be a little more accurate for you. But there is still some rotation on radar. It's about to enter Randolph County, Indiana. So that's going to be somewhere along the US 36, moving northeast toward US Route 27. That's what runs right through Winchester, Indiana. So then next in line in Ohio would be, Mercer and Dark counties. That said, we've already had storms in those places, and that tends to eat up the energy available for more storms, but not always. Sometimes we do have to watch for some of those storms to kind of energize themselves a bit. So we're still watching Western Ohio very carefully. Generally, right now, along I-75 between I-70 and US 30. So that's between about Lima and Piqua and Troy. So that's a good 45 mile stretch there with some strong winds entering the Wapakoneta area right now. So if you're in Wapakoneta, yeah, now's the time to be away from windows and in a particularly safe place in your home. Places like Minster and Fort Loramie, you're probably already had the worst of the wind blast through, but Anna and Bodkins, Jackson Center, the Airstream manufacturing plant is in Jackson Center. So large facilities like that tend to have wide roofs. So hopefully the folks there at the Airstream plant are preparing to take shelter. Again, that's in Jackson Center up in Shelby County. And then next in line, if this is to continue into Logan County, would be Indian Lake, Bell Fountain, and up toward Hardin County. So those would be spots that are next. Those would be spots that you should be preparing, but it's not
A little bit so the radar doesn't take it back. I know we're kind of losing our little bit so the radar doesn't take it back. I know we're kind of losing our stream here a little bit. Again, I do apologize. There's a lot going on. My apologies again. I know it's cutting out. You guys don't have to tell us it's cutting out. We know it's cutting out. So we're getting those messages too. It's just a lot going on here. If it continues to cut out, I may end it real quick and then try to reconnect again. Sometimes that worked. It worked a little bit. Sunday night I had a similar issue. So just hang in there, folks. If it continues to do it, we'll stop and then we'll restart it.
Yeah. So as far as the what the next hour looks like for a lot of folks is we're really still tracking a straight line wind threat. And that said, just as I kind of expected, that storm near Wapakoneta and north of Sydney, the National Weather Service has just extended the severe thunderstorm warning for that. So this is just a regular severe thunderstorm warning, and I hate to use the word just because a severe thunderstorm warning is a serious situation, but this one was not tagged considerable or destructive. But this is going to run until 11:45 p.m. and this is also going to include places like Waynesfield and Russell's Point. So that's Indian Lake in northern Logan County. Now we're moving into Hardin County. Ada, a home of Ohio Northern University. Kenton, under this severe thunderstorm warning for straight line wind potential. And that'll be until 11:45 tonight. Also, we're getting a report from the Mercer County Emergency Manager that a tree has fallen on a house in Salina at the intersection of Mill and Blake Streets. And in the town of Montezuma, which is also in Mercer County. Well, Montezuma is more like a crossroads, but it's a small little mini town there. Power lines down there. So there is damage in the Mercer County area, particularly in Salina and Montezuma. So we're going to be watching for damage reports coming in, but it also means that because we're seeing some damage and evidence of that, it means any of these severe thunderstorm warnings that get issued, we really have to take them seriously. So the latest one, Indian Lake, Russell's Point, you should be away from inside and away from windows. Same with Ada, so anyone at Ohio Northern should be doing the same thing. Lima, Kenton, and this is all part of that new severe thunderstorm warning that'll be in effect until 11:45. North of that, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Lima, Ottawa, Van Wert. That'll be running till midnight. And this original warning will be allowed to expire for Sydney and Piqua. But we are still watching for that maybe to get either reissued or potentially adjusted a little bit, because I'm still seeing a threat for some strong storms within that region. Let's see here. Let me switch over to velocity on my end to see if there's anything. Yeah, I mean, and back in Randolph County near Winchester, that storm still does have some broad rotation. So if you are in Mercer County, I wouldn't let your guard down just yet, because we're still watching that very closely. And Mark was showing kind of a debris tracker there. Not seeing any debris or any reason or evidence that the rotation in Indiana could be producing a tornado. But again, that's why we have a tornado watch. We are watching closely for tornadoes. And that tornado watch will run until 4 a.m. For a region along and west of I-71 that includes Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, all until, and then places in between until 4 o'clock in the morning. So we got a couple questions. If you're in St. Mary's right now, you're in a bit of a lull in the action in St. Mary's, but I wouldn't let your guard down completely, because we're still watching some storms behind it in Indiana. Same with anywhere in Western Ohio, north of I-70. So Van Wert, Wapakoneta, be on the lookout for some more storms, possibly a little bit later. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Still plenty of tornado warnings to our south. So southern Indiana, south of Indianapolis, stretching all the way to Louisville, down into the Owensboro, Kentucky area, and then still some tornado warnings for Kentucky. So these none of those storms have made it into our area just yet. So we have to kind of see how that's going to interact with the storms that we've had and the storms that are still coming. Mark, I'm not sure if you're seeing anything different than me, but for the most part, we're just kind of waiting to see if we're going to get an update on some of the storms coming into our viewing area.
Right, yeah, so our storm moving in the Wapakoneta right now. Here's I-75. A little bit of an inflow notch here, just south of town. Still some directional shear for the most part, but some of this is trying to maybe tighten up just a touch. It's not nothing earth-shattering that I've seen at the moment on this storm. Well, okay, now we have something. Check this out here. Just south of Wapakoneta, right along I-75, south of U-33, just north of Botkins there. That's kind of an interesting little feature that just developed right here a moment ago. So this may be trying to potentially produce something. What yet? Don't know, if anything. But it is certainly something to watch. Again, these are kind of little micro scale features we're picking out here at the moment, but definitely want to keep a close eye on that. It's almost a bit of a couplet there in a sense. It's not super strong, and just like that, I believe we just got an update on it. We sure did. And it's almost not there anymore, but it's just south of St. John's and US 33 right now, just a little southwest there. But yeah, now kind of not really showing at the moment. It looks like the so our reflectivity, Mike, is a little bit behind. It's almost 10 minutes behind.
Got it. Yeah, I noticed there were some data issues not only on our end, but from the Weather Service's side of things too. So, it's a busy night. This is a 2, maybe 3 time a year type of outbreak going on across the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, and still a lot of ongoing tornadic activity well to our south. Well, I shouldn't say well to our south, really maybe 100 to 200 miles to our south toward Louisville, and Evansville, Indiana, where a couple tornadoes are observed and on the ground. So
Yep.
watching that very carefully, and even some rotation still back in Indiana on a couple of these cells. One between Newcastle and Richmond, I see a little bit of rotation there. It certainly looks like the wind is pointing that way. Oh, there you go. There's that little area of rotation that you mentioned. Kind of.
It's trying. Yeah, it's
again.
Trying again there. It really is trying. A little more broad, but well, I take that back. Looks like did it move south a little bit? Maybe down here?
Maybe a little bit, or maybe another part of that line there.
I'm thinking there. So somewhere in here, it's trying to get its act together, and it'll bounce around a little bit like that when we deal with these line segments. But I think, just east of Botkins there is definitely probably maybe a little bit better than what we had right up here briefly near St. John's. Some of this is a bit noisy, so we kind of have to exclude a couple of these what they call bins of information. They don't really. There's really actually a couple of these things. There's nothing being there at all. It's actually the base map of the radar you're seeing. But I think right in here, just to the east of Botkins, it's trying to get a little something going there. We're kind of out in a ruralish area, if you will. We'll be northwest of Jackson Center. That's not going to move into Jackson Center. This is kind of all moving up more to the east-northeast or almost due northeast. Our storm track lines here, these are just off the program itself has it more of a due northeast, but these aren't always the best. They tend to jump around quite a bit. And there's our next update, and that's slightly better. Slightly.
Yeah. Well, hey, good. We like slightly better. But I'm just kind of, that's good to know that some of these spots that you just mentioned are maybe in a little less of a threat for some of the strongest damaging wind right now. But we also did get word that the severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for Mercer and Darke counties and even Miami County has been allowed to expire. So they have yet to issue a new one just yet. So if you're in Mercer and Darke County, you are I don't want to say in the clear. I will say you can.
You're out of the woods for now.
Out of the woods for now, but we are still watching a couple severe warned storms back in Indiana. Again, Randolph and Wayne County, Indiana. And then there are several tornado warnings down in southern Indiana at the moment. So while those are not directly looking to impact us soon, they are still part of this still very volatile system. There's a lot of spit in the atmosphere, and we're still seeing things like what Mark's pointing at, where we can see.
We're going to switch radar mics. We got a tornado warning up in the Defiance area.
Oh, we do? You're right.
Yeah. There's also a severe thunderstorm warning for Lucas County and the Toledo area as well. We'll get to that in a moment. But right now, tornado warning in effect for northwestern.
Do we still have our stream up?
We still have the stream up. It's buffering quite a bit. Oh, Owen says it's frozen. Let me stop it real quick, Mike, and we'll restart.
Okay.